What is it about this methodology? What is it about GTD that has captured so many people's imagination by fire and just it's going on and on? There's no stopping it.
Well, I hate to say this, but quite honestly, I don't know. There is magic to it, but I think part of the magic is that it's a very common sense approach to things that we're really all involved in all the time. And what it did and what I did was really uncover and discover what are the behaviors that really work. That, when we're on, when things really click, those better days than others. What is it about that? And so I just began to see, I didn't really make up something. I started to discover and uncover what it is that we all do that really works. But most people are not that conscious of it. And we're not born doing those behaviors necessarily. We may pick them up from time to time, but what I did was make what we do implicitly, I made it explicit. And once you take something that you do implicitly and make it explicit, you can do it with a lot more elegance, a lot more ease, and it just produces results immediately. See, what GTD does is it creates space. You don't need time, you need room. I mean, it doesn't take any time to have a good idea, but it takes room. If your head's distracted and you're being pulled 42 ways, inside of you because of inappropriately managed commitments, then it's very difficult to be fully on, to be productive, to be creative, to do the things that we want to have space for. Now, people use space for a lot of different reasons. We've got a 24-year-old rock musician who's a big GTD fan, and he uses space to help him think about more musical ideas. A 55-year-old CEO who's involved in a corporate merger is using space to think a lot more strategically about more meaningful things and not lose sight of, some of the big picture stuff. So how we use space is quite individual to all of us, but everybody who starts to experience a sense of freedom and a sense of space loves it. I think that's why it spreads, because it gives the same sort of feeling in a way to a 12-year-old as it does to a 55-year-old.
You said right now, it's not about managing time, and GTD is not about managing time. You said GTD, forget time management. GTD is not about getting things done. So then what is GTD really about?
Well, it's really about being appropriately engaged with your world so that you can be present with whatever you're doing. I mean, that's the optimal state to hit a golf ball from, to have a difficult conversation, or to tuck your kids in bed, is to be present there. So being fully present, in order to be fully present, the rest of your world needs to be what we call on cruise control. It needs to be okay in some way, shape, or form, and I need to be appropriately engaged with it. I mean, how many things are the three of us not doing right now while we're talking? Hundreds, right? So the only way we're going to be able to be present here and have this conversation is if somehow you've looked at the rest of your world and said, that'll wait, that's all fine, I want to be able to be here. But that's very difficult to do unless you have a systematic approach to keep track of all those other commitments and all those other things. So in order to have a clear head, you actually have to use your head to clear it. Yeah. It doesn't happen by itself. Yeah. The brain really did not evolve to handle more than about 4 meaningful things at once. Right. And so if you're trying to have your head hang on to all of that, I mean, your head is just a lousy office. It's a terrible office. And if you're letting yourself be run by just the best way that you can try to manage internally how all those things relate to each other, boy, you'll tend to be driven by latest and loudest. Right. So the whole idea about appropriate engagement, so when I say it's not really about getting things done, it's about being appropriately engaged with it. We're not getting a lot of things done right now. Yes. So that you either feel good about what we are doing and everything you're not doing, or you feel terrible about all the things you're not doing. Well, that the world is not confused. Look, yeah. It's fine. It's only how we're relating to that world. So what GTD did in this methodology was make it more conscious about what are our agreements with ourselves, what are our commitments, what is the work embedded in those, what does those things mean to me, and be able to park that in a nice externalized form so that you can then look at that and go, that, not that. But I can't do that, not that. I can a little bit in my head, but not with the 30 to 100 projects most professionals have and the 150 to 200 next actions that are tied to all of that, which most professionals have. And so we live a much more complex, life than most people really realize. That's why when people start to, as you've probably seen, as people start to engage with this material, they're kind of daunted by, oh my God, look at all those things, I have committed to and that I have my mind on. And so relieving the brain of its job to try to remember and remind and make sense out of all of that and externalize it in a way so that then your mind can recognize patterns and make good choices intuitively about what to do about all of that. That's really what this is about. The cognitive scientists have now identified this as building the external brain. So if people keep a calendar or a diary or agenda, they're already demonstrating the fact that, hey, I need some tool out here to keep track of that detail because I'm not going to do that in my head. My head's for better things than that.
Sure.